Okay, students, in the fifth video, that is the last video, let us study about the chemical control. Control and coordination in our body is also brought about with the help of certain chemical substances called hormones. Okay, you can put a bracket for this. Okay, certain chemical substances called as hormones, and these hormones are secreted by the endocrine glands. Please underline it. These glands are called as ductless glands. As the name suggests, there is no duct to carry out the secretions of these glands. Okay, a duct means a pipe, you can say. So they are called as ductless glands, and these are very, very important glands as these hormones have a vast effect on our body. These glands do not have any arrangement of their own to either store or carry their secretions. Hence, as soon as hormones are produced, they are directly released into the blood circulation. Thus, though these endocrine glands are present at specific locations in our body, their secretions reach all parts of the body via blood. Endocrine glands, along with the nervous system, are responsible for the control and coordination in our body. These two systems help each other to control and integrate the various activities of the body. A marked difference between these two systems is that nerve impulses are fast but short lived, whereas the actions of the hormones is very slow but long lasting. It is very important that hormones are secreted only in the required quantity, and there is a special mechanism which controls the quantity and timing of hormone secretion. For example, whenever there is an increase in the blood glucose level, certain cells in the pancreas get stimulated, and as a response they release a greater quantity of insulin. Now in this picture 15.17, endocrine glands of the male and the female are shown here. In the brain you can see the hypothalamus, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland. Then in the neck region, you can see the thyroid and the parathyroid glands. Okay, so thyroid and the parathyroid glands. Below the neck, you can see in the chest cavity somewhere, you can see the thymus gland. Then adrenal glands are present on the kidneys, whereas in the female you can see the ovary, and in the male you can see the testes. Okay, now let us watch a video on endocrine glands.
Human endocrine system consists of a number of glands located all over the body that secrete hormones and regulate various functions of the body. Modern endocrinology originated in 20th century upon the works of a French physiologist, Claude Bernard, who made a key observation that humans have a constant internal environment which he called milieu interior, which is preserved by various systems of human physiology, including the nervous system, the immune system, and a set of glands that secrete chemical messengers known as hormones. The human body needs control over its cells, tissues, and various processes in the body so that it can function in an orderly and stable way, which makes the vital functions like growth, development, and reproduction possible. Now, this control is mostly provided by three systems in the body: the immune system, the nervous system, and the endocrine system. Now, the nervous system is in charge or control of various body processes that happen rather fast, like movement, breathing, etc. And while the immune system controls body's actions related to infections and damage, the endocrine system in general is in charge of the body processes that happen rather slowly. For example, how fast the height of a person should increase, or maintenance of a constant level of electrolytes and ions in the blood, or body's metabolic rate, and various other numerous processes that we will talk about later. The human endocrine system consists of the following glands which are located all over the human body. We have the thyroid gland in the neck, which secretes important thyroid hormones which affect nearly all the cells of the body and maintain a proper metabolism of the body cells. Behind the thyroid gland, we have these 4 yellow parathyroid glands which secrete the important hormone parathormone. This hormone regulates the calcium and vitamin D metabolism in the body. Above the kidneys, we have the 2 important adrenal glands which secrete a variety of hormones that affect the metabolism of glucose, electrolytes, as well as they secrete the various catecholamine hormones, the adrenaline and the noradrenaline. We have the pancreas, which secretes the important hormone insulin, which is important for the metabolism of glucose, fats, as well as proteins. The reproductive hormone producing glands are very important and they differ in the 2 sexes. In the females, we have the ovaries which produce important sex hormones, the estrogen and progesterone, and in males we have the testes which produce testosterone. In the end, we will study the glands that control the secretion of all these glands, which are the pituitary and the thalamus, which are located inside the brain. Now, this endocrine system works. So we have various endocrine glands which are able to sense about various processes of the body. These glands secrete hormones which act as chemical messengers that are then distributed to whole of the body through the bloodstream to initiate a specific effect. To put this into context, let's take the example of the pancreas. The pancreas, for example, secretes one of the very important hormones, the insulin. The pancreas has a rich blood supply through which it can sense the concentration of the glucose in the blood. Whenever we eat, the concentration of glucose in the blood rises, which is detected by the pancreas, upon which it releases the hormone insulin. This hormone activates most of the cells of the body to take up the extra glucose in the blood, which stabilizes the normal glucose concentration in the blood. Most of the hormones produced by the human endocrine system are of 2 types. We have the protein hormones and we have the steroid hormones. While most of them are the protein hormones, there are only few hormones which are of the steroid nature, which include hormones like luteinizing hormone, the follicle stimulating hormone, and testosterone. Now, these hormones, when secreted by a gland, are carried to the bloodstream and circulated in whole of the body. Now, some hormones affect only a specific part or function of the body, for example, testosterone, which affects only the gonads as well as the secondary sexual characters, while there are some hormones which nearly affect all of the human cells, which include thyroid hormones, which act on almost every cell of the body to regulate the cell metabolism. These hormones exert their actions on the cells by binding to specific receptors. Now, these receptors may be located on the cell membrane, they may be present inside the cell cytoplasm or even inside the cell nucleus. Once these hormones attach to their receptors, they exert their effect through different mechanisms, which lead to the effect of the hormone. One important mechanism are the ion channel receptors. In this case, the binding of hormone to the receptor causes opening or closing of one or more types of ion channels that regulates the entry or exit of one type of ions in the cell. Now, another very common type of receptors are the enzyme-linked or the G-protein coupled receptors. In this case, when the hormone binds to the receptor, it causes the activation of many enzymes in the cell which exert the effect of the hormone. We also have gene-linked hormone receptors where binding of the hormone to its receptor in the nucleus causes activation or deactivation of a transcription factor of a gene in DNA. Example of this is the steroid hormones, which increase the transcription of genes which are responsible for increased protein synthesis in the cell. So first of all, we will take a look at the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is located immediately below the larynx and it is one of the largest of all endocrine glands, weighing about 15 to 20 grams. The thyroid gland secretes 2 important hormones, the T4, the thyroxine, and the T3 or the triiodothyronine. 93% of all the secretion of the thyroid gland is the T4 and only 7% of the secretion is T3. Thyroid hormones require iodine for their synthesis in a dose of 1 milligram per week. These hormones are protein hormones that bind to their receptors, which are mostly located in the nucleus or the cytoplasm of the cell. After that, the thyroid hormones have hundreds of effects on cells, like increase in the number of mitochondria of the cell, increase in the carbohydrate and fat metabolism, and increased activity of the various ion channels of the cell membrane. It has many systemic effects like increased cardiac output, increased heart rate, and increased CNS activity. In short, we can say that the thyroid hormones are important in a way that they regulate the basic cell metabolism and activity, which ultimately affects the body as a whole. Now, the second gland that we will talk about is the parathyroid gland. It is called parathyroid gland because it is located just adjacent to the thyroid gland or behind it. We have 4 parathyroid glands, one behind each of the upper and lower poles of thyroid. The parathyroid gland has a vital function of regulation of a constant concentration of calcium and phosphate in the body. It does so by releasing a hormone known as parathormone, which mainly acts on bone, intestines, and kidneys. Through the intestines, it regulates how much of the calcium should be absorbed in the body. Through the kidneys, it can regulate how much should be excreted, and since bones are a large reservoir of calcium and phosphate, it can use that to increase or decrease the calcium and phosphate concentration of the blood. The next endocrine organ that we will briefly discuss are the adrenals. Now, these glands are called adrenals because they are present just adjacent to the kidneys, sometimes also known as the suprarenals since they are located above the kidneys. Now, if we take a look at the cut section of the adrenal glands, we can see that it is made up of different sections. On the outer side, we have the adrenal cortex, and at the central part known as the adrenal medulla, and both of these parts secrete different types of hormones. Now, the adrenal cortex has 3 layers or zones, which are zona glomerulosa, which is the outermost layer. We have the zona fasciculata, which is in the middle, and then in the inner side, we have the zona reticularis. These layers secrete different hormones, and these can be remembered by a simple mnemonic, the GFR, which stands for these layers. Now, the outermost layer, the zona glomerulosa, produces the hormone aldosterone, which is a mineralocorticoid. Aldosterone mainly acts on the kidneys to maintain a constant level of sodium, potassium, and other ions as well as fluid balance of the body. The zona fasciculata, the middle layer of the adrenal cortex, mainly synthesizes cortisol, which is a glucocorticoid. Cortisol is essential for life as it has permissive actions on multiple organ systems as well as metabolic processes throughout the body. Now, cortisol is essential for your body to have a proper stress response. It is essential for your body to have a proper metabolism of glucose, fat, as well as proteins. It is essential for important normal BP regulation and normal immune system regulation. Now, the innermost layer is the zona reticularis, which secretes androgenic hormones like the dihydroepiandrosterone, which are important for the development of secondary sexual characters. Now, the inner side, we have the adrenal medulla, which can be considered as a part of sympathetic nervous system. It releases the catecholamines, epinephrine and norepinephrine into the general circulation. It is activated when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, and it is essential for the classic flight or fight response of the body. So this was the first video on the series on endocrinology. Make sure to watch.
So, let us study the endocrine glands, their location and important functions. So, in this video, you have understood certain endocrine glands and their location and important functions. So, here, let's see the first gland, the hypothalamus. It is located above the pituitary gland in the forebrain. It secretes hormones which control the activity of the secretory cells of the pituitary gland. Its function is to control the pituitary gland. Second gland is the pituitary gland. It is located at the base of the brain. Hormones it secretes are growth hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, prolactin, follicle stimulating hormone or FSH, luteinizing hormone or LH, oxytocin, anti-diuretic hormone. So it secretes many hormones. So the pituitary gland is also called as the master gland. Now its functions are: stimulates growth of the bones, it stimulates the adrenal gland, stimulates the thyroid gland, stimulates milk production, that is prolactin. Follicle stimulating hormone controls the growth of the gonads. Gonads are the sexual organs. Then luteinizing hormone controls menstrual cycle and ovulation in females. Oxytocin, it contracts the uterus during parturition. That means during delivery time, the baby has to come out of the mother's womb. That is parturition process. So oxytocin controls that. So, and diuretic hormone, it regulates the water level in the body. Now let us go to the third hormone, thyroid. It is located anterolateral sides of the trachea in the neck region. It secretes thyroxine, which controls the growth of the body and metabolic activities. Calcitonin controls calcium metabolism and calcium level in the blood. Fourth hormone is the parathyroid hormone. 4 glands behind the thyroid gland. It secretes the parathormone and it controls the metabolism of calcium and phosphorus. Pancreas, next gland. It is located behind the stomach. 4 types of cells: the alpha cells 20%, beta cells 70%, delta cells 5%, PP cells or F cells 5%. Now the hormones it secretes are glucagon, insulin, somatostatin and pancreatic polypeptide. What are its functions? It stimulates the liver to convert glycogen into glucose. It stimulates the liver to convert excess blood glucose into glycogen. Controls the levels of insulin and glucagon, and also controls the movements of intestine and thereby glucose absorption process. Okay? It also controls the secretion of pancreatic juice. Next gland is the adrenal gland. It is located at the anterior end of the kidney. Adrenaline and noradrenaline are its hormones. It controls the behavior during crisis and emotional situations. They are called as fright and flight hormones. Stimulates the heart and its conducting tissue and metabolic process. Maintains balance of sodium ions and potassium ions and stimulates metabolism. So corticosteroid is also a hormone secreted by the adrenal gland. Ovary on either side of the uterus in women secretes estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen, it stimulates the growth of endometrium, that is the inner lining of the uterus, stimulates the growth of secondary sexual characteristics in women and prepares the endometrium for conception. Progesterone prepares the endometrium for conception and maintains pregnancy. Now testes. They are located in the scrotum in the males. The hormone secreted is testosterone. It stimulates the growth of secondary sexual characteristics like the beard, mustache, hoarse voice, etc. in men. The last gland is the thymus gland. It is located in the thoracic cage near the heart. It secretes thymosin and it controls the cells which give rise to immunity. So you have to learn this table. You should understand the location, the hormone secreted and the functions. This table is very important. Now let us see one more video in which other endocrine glands you will learn about them, the remaining ones.
Next important organ to discuss in the human endocrine system is the pancreas. The pancreas consists of both endocrine and an exocrine part. The exocrine part of the pancreas secretes important digestive enzymes into the duodenum, whereas the endocrine part of the pancreas secretes two important hormones, the insulin and the glucagon. They also secrete somatostatin, which is of lesser importance. Pancreatic islets, also known as the islets of Langerhans, are irregularly shaped patches of endocrine tissue that are present in the tail of pancreas that contain different types of cells like the alpha cells, beta cells, and the delta cells. Out of these, the alpha cells secrete glucagon, the beta cells secrete insulin, whereas the delta cells produce another hormone, the somatostatin. Now, insulin has a wide range of effects on metabolisms of glucose, other carbohydrates, proteins, as well as fats. Whenever we eat, there is a rise in the blood glucose concentration, which is detected by the pancreas, causing the release of insulin. The overall effect of insulin is to decrease the concentration of glucose in the blood by stimulating the uptake of glucose into the cells, and also by the conversion of glucose into glycogen, which is the storage form in the liver. It is known as anabolic hormone, which is just opposite of catabolic since it prevents the breakdown of both fats, proteins in the body. Glucagon, on the other hand, works just opposite to that of insulin. See, the hormone glucagon is mainly released when glucose is gone from the body, meaning a low concentration of glucose in the blood. The glucose causes breakdown of glycogen to glucose in the liver, which is known as glycogenolysis. It also causes the conversion of proteins, amino acids, and fats into glucose, which is known as gluconeogenesis. The overall effect is to increase the blood glucose concentration. Now we will take a brief look at the reproductive hormones. In males, we have the testes, and in the females, we have the ovaries. These gonads produce important hormones without which reproduction is not possible. The male gonads, the testes, produce important hormones like testosterone, inhibin, anti-Mullerian hormone, and some other androgens like androstenedione and dihydrotestosterone. These hormones are essential for the formation of sperms and development of secondary sexual characters. On the other hand, we have the female gonads, the ovaries, which secrete two important hormones, the estrogens and the progesterones. The estrogens are of various types. Most abundantly found in the females is the estradiol and also others like estrone and estriol. Estrogen causes the development of sex organs like uterus, fallopian tubes, vagina, cervix. It also causes the development of secondary sexual characters. Progesterone, on the other hand, mainly acts on the uterus, cervix, and vagina and prepares these organs for conception of the zygote. It also affects metabolisms and also affects the body temperature. So we have all these endocrine glands all over the body that secrete these various hormones. But the secretion from these glands require control, which is provided by two important endocrine glands located in your brain, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus is a small almond-sized part of the brain that lies below the thalamus and controls a wide variety of body functions to maintain a proper body's internal environment. These functions include regulation of body temperature, hunger, sleep, thirst, and many other things. Now, one of the most important things that the hypothalamus does is that it links the nervous system to the endocrine system through the pituitary gland. To understand this, we can compare the hypothalamus to a vital part of the brain that is able to sense the various conditions or processes that are going around in the body. Now, it controls many aspects of the body through the autonomic nervous system, but it also controls the body's endocrine response through the pituitary gland secretions. So if we take a look at the pituitary gland, it is composed of an anterior lobe and a posterior lobe. And together they secrete about 8 hormones which either inhibit or stimulate secretions from other endocrine glands. The hypothalamus directly or indirectly controls the secretions from the pituitary gland. The posterior pituitary is simple. It does not secrete hormones from its own, but in reality, these hormones are actually synthesized in the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus has two important collections of neurons known as the supraoptic and the paraventricular nucleus. The paraventricular nucleus secretes oxytocin, whereas the supraoptic nucleus secretes vasopressin or the antidiuretic hormone. These axons of the neurons directly reach the posterior pituitary and secrete these hormones there, and then these hormones are released into the blood circulation and carried all over the body. Oxytocin is a peptide hormone that mainly acts on two important places in the body, the uterus and the breast. In the uterus, it causes powerful smooth muscle contractions which are essential for childbirth, and in breast, it is essential for lactation. Vasopressin, also known as the antidiuretic hormone, is also a peptide hormone. Vasopressin mainly acts on two important places, the kidneys and the blood vessels. In the kidneys, the vasopressin causes reabsorption of water and decreases the urine output. In the blood vessels, the vasopressin causes constriction of blood vessels, increases peripheral vascular resistance, and thus increasing the blood pressure. So now when we take a look at the anterior pituitary, things are a bit different. The anterior lobe of pituitary produces 6 important hormones, the secretions of which are directly controlled by releasing or inhibiting hormones that are produced inside the hypothalamus. The hormones that are produced in the hypothalamus reach the pituitary through blood vessels, and in response to these releasing hormones, the pituitary gland then produces hormones that control the secretion of other endocrine glands. To take this into context, let's take the example when the hypothalamus releases the hormone thyrotropin releasing hormone or the TRH from the hypothalamus. It is carried to the pituitary through the blood vessels, which causes the release of another hormone, the thyroid stimulating hormone from the pituitary. The TSH then acts on the thyroid gland and causes the release of important thyroid hormones. In a similar way, the hypothalamus releases CRH or the corticotropin releasing hormone, which causes the release of ACTH from pituitary or the adrenocorticotropin hormone. The ACTH then acts on the adrenals, causing the release of important adrenal hormones. Similarly, we have the gonadotropin releasing hormone or the GnRH. The GnRH acts on the pituitary, causing the release of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone from the pituitary gland. These hormones act on the gonads, causing the release of sex hormones. Similarly, we have the growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, which causes the release of growth hormone from the pituitary gland. The growth hormone acts on almost all the cells of the body. Dopamine is released from the hypothalamus, which inhibits the secretion of prolactin. The dopamine basically inhibits the release of prolactin from the pituitary gland. So this was a brief overview about the human endocrine system. Guys,
Okay, students. So I hope you have followed the endocrine system very well. Now, let us go to the exercise. So you can take your pencil in your hand and you can write the answers there. Now, first one, match the pairs and explain. The first one, growth of pollen tube towards ovule. So, in the B column, its matching point is chemotropic movement. Second, growth of the shoot system. C is the matching point, phototropic movement. Third one, growth of the root system, gravitropic movement. Fourth one, growth towards water, hydrotropic movement. Now let us complete the paragraph. The milk was on the stove. Rasika was engrossed watching television. She smelled something burning. She ran towards the kitchen. The milk was boiling. She held the vessel with her bare hands, but screaming, she let it go at once. This activity was controlled by dash, that is nerve cells. So write nerve there, nerve cells. Special ends of dendrites, write the dendrites in the dash. In these cells, collected the information from where it was transferred to the cell body. Okay, so in the dash you write cell body, and then towards the terminal end of the dash, that is axon, AXON, axon. The chemicals produced at the terminal end pass through the minute space that is dash, synapse, SYNAPSE. In this way, impulses, IMPULSES, impulses were conducted in the body, and the process of reflex actions, dash, reflex actions was completed by conducting the impulses from dash nerve to muscle cell. Okay, so the second dash is muscle cell. So you had to choose from the options given below here. Now number 3, write notes on. So you have to write notes and also draw the diagrams. So root pressure, first one, write the page 164. A, root pressure 164. Second one, transpiration, again page 164. Nerve cell, page 171. Human brain, 172 and 173. Reflex action, 175. Name the hormones. Next question. Name the hormones of the following endocrine glands and the function of each: pituitary, thyroid, adrenal, thymus, testes, ovary. So here you can refer to table on page 177. Next, question 5. Draw and label the diagrams. Human endocrine glands, page 176. Human brain, page 173. Nephron, page 167. Nerve cell, page 171. Human excretory system, page 167. Answer the following questions. Question number 6. Explain the chemical coordination in humans and give the names and functions of some hormones. Page 176. You can write from there. B. Explain the difference between the excretory systems of humans and plants. So page 166. You can search and write. C. Explain coordination in plants with the help of suitable examples. Page 169. Seventh question. Explain in your own words with suitable examples. What is meant by coordination? So page 168. B. How does excretion occur in human beings? So here page 167, 168, and you also know that oxygen is given out over there. So here question number C. How is excretion in plants useful to human beings? It is page 166. You know that oxygen is given out, which is useful for us. Bark of trees is also useful for us. Gums, resin and rubber is also useful for us. So you can please write down from there. D question. Describe the transportation system in plants. Page 165. So children, you will complete this exercise and you will draw the diagrams wherever necessary. I hope you have followed this lesson. It was a very lengthy lesson, but it is easy. You keep on reading it 3 to 4 times. You will follow it very well. So thank you very much.